Hello, everybody. This is Nik and Adinah Johnson, and welcome to the next part in our Love and Respect series. This is Chapter 4. So we'll be going through that. For those of you who are not subscribers, we would ask that you would just take a moment, take any of those 10 fingers that you have. No judgment if you don't have 10. But as long as you have a finger, take that finger and hit that subscribe button and the notification button so that you'll know whenever we release content around this particular series or any other time we upload anything. Questions, comments about anything, baby?
Nope.
All right. Got it. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get into Chapter 4. And once again, as I said before, we'll be going out of Dr. Emerson's book here, Love and Respect. We'll also have the workbook as well. If you'd like to purchase those or follow along with us, links to purchase that from Amazon are right below. And Chapter 4 is what men fear most can keep the crazy cycle spinning.
Yeah.
All right. And so just to level set, what is the crazy cycle, honey?
The crazy cycle is he appears unloving, then she's disrespectful, unloving, disrespectful, and it just keeps going.
Rinse and repeat, right?
Yeah.
All right, absolutely. So we're going to go into that, and we're going to talk about men's fears and the importance of us as men, I think, acknowledging those fears and sometimes being transparent enough to articulate them to our spouses. Because sometimes
that's rare.
You said it's rare?
Yeah.
Why do you think it's so rare?
Well, because I think oftentimes men will feel if they feel like they're going to admit that they're wrong or that they are disrespected, I feel like they're going to feel like they're even more disrespected.
Okay, so you're saying that, okay, you disrespected me, and now I have to be vulnerable.
And tell me.
Yeah, and tell you and run the risk of being disrespected even more?
Yeah, because oftentimes men are not, it's not okay for a man to show, vulnerability or, it's fine for them to show anger, which is a secondary emotion, but it's not fine for him to show sadness. If they feel disappointed, it's not okay. Oftentimes, that's how I think men feel that way.
Okay.
But I think as women, we want our guys to show us that vulnerability and to show us where they're not as strong in some areas because that makes them human.
Okay. It's difficult. Sometimes we will tend to try to measure ourselves based upon the world standards of a man.
Yeah.
And the world standard of a man is not beneficial for relationships. It's just not. We really have to be willing to be transparent at times, which can be very uncomfortable, but it's a necessary step because, as we've mentioned before, and we talk about you want to bond and feel connected.
Yeah.
And so when you think about a connection, it is a bond. As far as holding some things together. And it comes from physical closeness and emotional openness. So you really need to have that emotional connection and vulnerability to really be able to bond with somebody. So there we go. So males generally do not handle conflict with their wives well at all when they feel disrespected.
No.
And that's how they open up the chapter. It really doesn't. Because there is a portion in the book where the wife mentions that, hey, I think she says, hey, you're 6'4", 250 pounds. How does this hurt you? I'm just talking.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, it hurts. And sometimes in a relationship, even though there's a portion in the book where it makes mention to physical scars,
yeah,
but the emotional scars are difficult. Those are the ones that you can't see, oftentimes take the longest amount of time to heal.
Yeah.
We really want to be mindful of those words because what do we told as kids about sticks and stones?
And that's been dispelled now. We were told, but sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you.
Yeah.
And that's not true.
Yeah, words hurt. They do hurt. So we want to keep in mind with that. I think because typically women are not physically able to hurt most men.
Oh yeah.
So they say, you know what? I'll just, I'll hurt you where I know I can, as far as with the things that I say. Okay.
And be disrespectful. And that's a very painful thing for a man who really is doing everything he can to take care of the family to be disrespected. That's painful to a man, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, and Dr. Emerson starts off on page 51. He talks about the honor code. He says, from boyhood, men learn there are certain things men just don't say to one another.
Right. Women don't get that message.
They didn't get that. Yeah, they was out on that day. They didn't get that at school. And it's an honor code. It's just everything that men don't say. And so what happens is when a woman says it to you, you still feel that same level of hurt.
Yeah, that sting.
It's just that you're at this particular point, you're conflicted with honoring the code.
Yeah.
So at that particular point, you find yourself in the crazy cycle. You're like, you know what? I was disrespectful.
Now I'm unloving.
And so
because I don't feel like being loving now that you've been so rude and disrespectful. Mm-hmm. It's a crazy cycle.
Yeah,
just what it is.
Yeah, and that's it. And we just have to be mindful of that. So they also in the book talk about question 10. Then I'll defer to you if there's something that you want to talk about. As far as, are you a criticizer or a stonewaller? What do you think you are? A criticizer or a stonewaller?
I'm a stonewaller. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say anything to hurt anyone's feelings. I just won't talk. I'll just let it go and walk away.
Yeah.
And I think that hurts sometimes even more.
Do not say anything?
Yeah.
Yeah. In the book, it references how when a woman is disrespectful to a man, mm-hmm. and how he'll feel as though he's actually taking the high road, mm-hmm. by just disconnecting. Yeah. Like, you know what? I'm not going there. But it's hard because typically the reason why that disrespectful event happened is because the wife wants to connect. So you're doing the complete opposite of that by stonewalling and disconnecting.
Yeah.
So oftentimes what will happen is that she'll pursue. She'll continue to say something to try to get a rise out of the husband. Sometimes he will continue to stonewall.
Right.
But then they'll get to a point where they might find themselves, unfortunately, exploding.
Yeah.
Through words, similar things. So in that particular aspect, we have to realize that, in most cases, we either fall into a bucket of being a criticizer or a stonewaller.
Yeah.
But knowing that either way is not beneficial for the relationship.
And I think a lot of times men think they're being respectful by stonewalling, but women just find that very disrespectful. And that's, again, we're different, mm-hmm. in that respect. And then you have some people where women are like me and they stonewall and you may never talk again. So somebody has to pursue, which is unfortunate because you do have couples that, just don't talk to each other. They just rather not deal with it.
So if you don't deal with it, does that mean that the problem's gone away?
Oh, it's going to snowball. It's going to be huge.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be bigger than you can imagine. So it's better to just go ahead and deal with it.
Yeah, people tend to stick stuff in the closet, but at some point you open that door, it's going to all fall out.
Yeah.
So you have to deal with it. So that's for sure. You got that question you want to go to, honey?
Mm-hmm. What question did you do?
I was on 10 just now.
Okay, I'm going to do 11.
All right.
And how women deal with conflict between themselves. Describe a typical woman approach to the conflict with another woman. And, just like best girlfriends. And what we do oftentimes, I'm going to go through the list. Husbands are too proud to admit that they are wrong. Husbands don't see their wives' deeper goal in reconciling. Husbands clam up because ongoing criticism feels like contempt, and wives are more critical in judgment of their husbands than they are their girlfriends. Mm-hmm. And what it basically said is choose one idea below, then add your own thoughts. I think because most of the time women, when we have an issue with another woman, we just confront it and deal with it and talk about it and move on. And guys oftentimes see, as Emerson said in the book, they see that as disrespectful and a confrontation, and they don't want to deal with they don't want the smoke. Mm-hmm. They don't want any confrontation, so therefore they're stonewall, and the woman is really trying to connect with him by, talking about the issue, and then oftentimes men don't want to deal with it, so women feel like they're not heard, so they keep talking about it, and then they get the nag tag, unfortunately. And that's sad because she's really just trying to connect with him, and he doesn't understand that this is how women connect. Women and men are just socialized totally different.
Yeah. I know in reading this book, it made me realize that when a wife confronts you about something, that typically it's because they feel as though they are on the crazy cycle.
Yeah.
And that's an attempt for them to try to feel loving
and
connected so that in turn they can try to respect you.
Yeah.
Somebody's trying to do something, but a lot of times we stonewall and we're not receptive to that. So at that particular point, nothing's happening. There's no benefit in the relationship because nobody's trying to move toward each other. Because when you're in a bad situation, basically you're like this.
Yeah.
You know, and at some point,
It's a
somebody has to move in to get closer. You know, if you keep standing off, you're going to just stay where you are. Yeah. And that's not where you want to be.
Or get further away. You know, and that's the thing. I think this one point is worth its weight in gold as far as this whole book. It is worth the price of admission for this book. Just the fact that women or men are socialized different. And when a woman confronts a man with an issue, she's trying to get closer. And oftentimes men don't get closer. They think that's a representation of the woman being angry, and they just really feel like it's a put off, and it's not okay.
Yeah.
But that's too why it's important for women to use their power and I have a video coming all about a woman's power, but it's important for a woman to use her power and really relate to or convey the same message she wants to convey at a different level, so a man will acknowledge and appreciate that she's not attacking him. She wants to be loving toward him and deal with whatever issue it is, so they can get that cohesive relationship back.
Yeah. And I think, there's a lot of things that we don't want to do. There's a reference in the book that we don't want to get up in the mornings, but we still get up.
Yeah.
So having those uncomfortable conversations are something that we don't want to do, but it's something that we have to do.
Exactly.
And no matter what happens, you're either going to have that uncomfortable conversation now,
or you're going to have
a divorce court. But at some point, you're going to have it.
Yeah.
So it's better to do it earlier when the situation is not as bad than when it has time to fester and grow.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to do that. So let's see here. Can we talk about 12? Yeah. A woman's self-image may depend on her husband's approval. What's your thoughts about that comment?
I think that's true. If a wife feels like their husband doesn't like them, then that can change their entire self-esteem. I mean, and we've seen women who make a big deal about the fact that they are a wife. And it's like, okay, but how is your self-esteem and how is your husband interacting with you? Yeah, you're a wife. Yeah, he married you. But is he loving towards you? Is he rude and disrespectful to you?
Yeah. I think that as men, we need to understand that there is this correlation between a wife's self-image and what we give them toward that. And so I think it's important to know that, to the ability that we have. Women have the same thing, but I don't think that men maybe think about this as far as, we have the power to build up our wives, because as, the Bible says in Proverbs, it's life and death in the power of the tongue. And we need to be mindful of that. So we need to communicate in a loving way to our spouses, knowing that the things that we say does help to form and shape self-image. That's why even with our daughter, I try to be very mindful of the way that I speak to her and things that I say to her.
Right.
Because I know that we're forming her self-image,
right.
So it's extremely important, and it's kind of interesting because we have many nieces, nephews. I remember seeing them as they grew up, how they would start to be more mindful of their bodies and their self-image around things. Even like we go to the pool and stuff. It would be a time, I remember one day we had one, and she always just run around in her little one-piece bathing suit. To one day she wanted a shirt to cover herself up.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. She is now, in tune with her self-image.
Right.
And we need to understand that, the things that we do as men shape and form the self-image of our wives.
Yeah, it's a very valid point.
And without love, and just at the bottom of that page, without love, she reacts without respect, and without respect, he reacts without love. And you have the crazy cycle.
There you go. All right, I want to jump to question number 15.
Okay.
And it says, do you want me to tell you I love you or respect you? And that's from page 66, an account of woman asks her husband. What do you think?
I'm sorry, which page?
On page 66 of the book.
Okay.
And in the account of how a woman asks her husband, do you want me to tell you I love you or respect you? And based on this information, I'm sure you know what the answer was that he said.
Yeah, it's all about respect.
Especially since 74% of men said that they would rather be respected.
Yeah, because the need for respect exceeds everything else. And they talk about the example of food and water. When it comes to, individuals, they're both important, but you can go a lot longer without food, I believe you say, than with water.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what's extremely important.
And so one thing and we talked about this in the last session or the session number 2, it's like, I know you don't intend to be disrespectful, but sometimes you come across as disrespectful. And that's important because oftentimes individuals are not trying to come across disrespectful or unloving. So you kind of have to let them know in a very nice, even tone way.
Yeah. The gift of gab and being witty is beneficial in certain circumstances, but not always. Our middle boy, we taught him, as he feels as though he has the gift of gab. I told him that, I call it the blessing and the curse.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to and have a mindfulness on when you should use it and when you should not.
Oh, yeah.
It's good for business, as far as being quick on your feet and being able to really, have a quick comeback. Ain't good for relationships.
No.
It's just not. It'll be the real that in. That's for sure.
It's not.
Yeah. So let's see what other things we want to talk about here. Let's talk about lesson love and respect golden rule, and that's on page 57. The wife should respect her husband as she wants to be loved. The husband should love his wife as he wants to be respected.
Yeah.
And we talk about the golden rule in general, but basically, it's just applicable here to love and respect. To the extent that you want to be respected, you should love. And to the extent that you want to be loved, you should respect. That makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense, but that's difficult because by nature, men are not necessarily loving. They are respectful, or they like to exhibit the respect factor of it all. So, if it was an easy no-brainer, then it wouldn't be necessary for us to share love and respect. It will just happen. And it doesn't just happen because it's very unnatural.
Yeah.
So we have to work at it.
Yeah. In chapter 4, I believe I recall he read that he was talking to some ladies, and they said, "Hey, how would you feel if your son married a young lady that treated him the way that you treat your husband?" And he was like, "Oh, I didn't think about it that way." But that's it. But I think we should all think about that. What if my daughter married a man that treated me the way that I treat her mother, and vice versa? So we need to be who we want our children, because what's going to happen is that they see us and they think that that's the way things are supposed to be.
Right.
That's normal to them. So that's why oftentimes you see these generational situations, because people see that as children and think that, okay, that's just the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
That's not the case. So I challenge you, just like we challenge ourselves, to display the kind of relationship that we would want our children to be in when they are adults. So
exactly, because they will gravitate toward that. And if we don't like it, then that's going to be a problem, because they will find that.
That's true. So let's see here. That's 4. And you got anything else here, ma'am?
No, I think I'm done, actually. I didn't have any other ones highlighted.
All right. Well, good deal. Well, once again, that was chapter 4. And here in our book, as I said before, if you'd like to get your hands on the textbook, which is down here. No, this is the textbook. The workbook down here. There's links down below. Anything in closing you want to say, honey?
That's it. I think it's important to love and respect.
Yeah, and that's why we're here doing this. So, that being said, this is Adinah Johnson. I am Nik Johnson. Take care of yourself and keep loving one another. Thank you.